Sometimes it's fun to talk to a guy who just seems to know everything about guns. Today we're talking with Jason Cloessner from Lipsey's. Gun Talk Nation is brought to you by Arms Corps, Safariland, We Save Lives, Hodgdon, the Gunpowder People, Springfield Armory, and Remington Ammunition. All right, welcome into Gun Talk Nation. Today on Gun Talk Nation, we've got Jason Cloessner from Lipsey's. Welcome in, man.
Hey, good to see you, Ryan.
So Lipsey's big firearms distributor. And then for you guys listening and watching, if they go to lipseysguns.com, that's where they find all the cool stuff you guys
That's
do.
where all the cool stuff lives. Yeah, that's where all our exclusive offerings that we do. You know, we do a lot of stuff that's not in normal catalogs by the manufacturer. So you might have special features or different barrel lengths or calibers and stuff like that. And so we try to have, we have about 200 different SKUs of special edition guns.
Where they can only get them from you guys.
Correct. Yeah. And they still have to buy them through an FFL dealer, but that dealer has to get them through us.
I didn't realize you guys had 200 different ones. That's wild.
Yeah.
So if you're listening to this, you're not going to be able to appreciate this, but if you're watching it or go over to like our YouTube or Facebook to watch this, I'm sporting a new t-shirt today. It's our Biden Tactical t-shirt. And basically, we decided, since Joe Biden is such an expert on tactics and gunplay, with the all you need is a double barrel shotgun, shoot it out the window, or just shoot him in the knee.
Shoot him in the knee. Yeah.
Shoot him in the knee. So we did a T-shirt for it. You'll have to come see, but I think it's pretty awesome.
My question though is, if you put 3 barrels, is that the high cap version?
Yes.
So okay, all right.
So who did the 3-barrel shotgun?
Chiappa.
Yes.
Yeah. That would be a high cap Biden Tactical. Only legal in a couple states.
That had to be heavy, I imagine. I never handled one.
Yeah, it's pretty big.
It's kind of one of these, you know, people are going to buy it because it's just weird.
Because it's got 3. Then that's more than 2.
Yeah, it's more.
Yeah, right.
Well, so this is a funny story. So we do first-person defender and doing this force and force ammunition stuff. I mean, paintball guns, training. It's real training. But several years back, we thought, well, let's do a little side video about why it's a bad idea to tell people to just shoot them in the leg, shoot them in the knee. And basically the idea is, the reason it really is a bad idea is it's hard to hit someone in the knee, and that's not really the point of stopping someone. Right.
They can still shoot you by shot in the knee.
Yeah, right. But we set up it was kind of a half-hearted effort, I guess. We set up 2 people, and we had one person was going to be jumping back and forth and moving around. The other person was going to try to shoot him in the leg. I guess the person with the gun was a good shot because it went way too well.
Wait a minute, this works.
There were like 100% hits on the legs. Still a bad idea. But we were like, okay, never mind. This didn't work. We'll try to get another time to show it off.
Yeah.
People think we would just edit it to show it differently, but we didn't. We like, okay, well, that didn't make our point. We'll try it again another time.
That was probably the exception to the rule.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. So man, we just wanted to have you in. I mean, you're always one that's fun to talk to because you are one of the gunniest gun dudes I know. And then also wanted to talk about the GT25, our new exclusive gun. And also being that you guys are one of the biggest firearms distributors, you're kind of on the front lines of what's selling, what are the trends?
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, where are all the guns? But I feel like we're kind of coming to a point where everybody's starting to see more guns in stock. It's maybe perhaps not quite as hard.
Yeah, things are starting to loosen up, especially in the what I call the core items. You know, your concealed carry, defensive 9mm pistols, AR-15s, defensive shotguns. All that stuff is now, you might not be able to find the exact model you want, but you can find something. It's probably very close to what you're looking for. And then we don't carry ammunition, but I am starting to see 9mm, 5.56, that kind of stuff starting to ease back in. Now, I'll tell you, hunting guns are still really tough.
Really?
Yeah, hunting is still booming. Bolt action rifle market and the pump and semi-automatic hunting shotguns have been really, really tight.
And that's not only because of the manufacturing, but actually the demand.
The demand, yeah. There is a lot of pent-up demand for, especially what I call the affordable priced bolt action rifles, the Ruger Americans, the Savage Axis type rifles. Those guns, I mean, we just can't keep them in stock.
Wow, that's cool. I love this I don't love that people were going out to buy handguns because they're worried about their safety because of riots or whatever else. But I do kind of love the idea of there are all these people going, we're going to get into hunting more, because just the idea of being self-reliant and maybe a new hobby that's outdoors that isn't involving.
Well, it's such a ripple effect too, because when somebody buys a Smith Wesson J frame to throw in the sock drawer, never to be seen again, they're probably not spending any of their money. But when they're getting into hunting, now they're buying clothes, they're buying an optic, they're buying tree stands or whatever, all the other little stuff that goes with it. So it really is it helps the industry as a whole when hunting has a boom.
And yeah, along those lines, yeah, you're right. People will buy that defensive gun and they set it in a sock drawer. But the hunting is not as passive. I mean, you kind of you don't just buy a bolt gun and go, well, maybe one day I'll need this because there's a deer in the yard. No, they're usually seeking it out.
Right. It's a little more proactive. Yeah. Exactly.
That's awesome. So what else has been popular? What are the trends that you guys seem to be seeing lately?
Well, it is I think SIG had it at the SHOT Show in 19. It is a red dot revolution.
Yeah.
You can't pretty much have a handgun now without an optics cut if you want it to be successful. You're seeing more and more options from the sight makers as far as getting smaller, longer battery life, more options. So I don't think that's going to stop. I think you're going to see more of that. I think you're going to see it start to fall into the rimfires and everything else.
Yeah.
So I think that's good. It's easier to get people to shoot handguns who are starting, and for the people who are a little mature and maybe are having a hard time shooting their handguns, it can bring some new life into it. So I think that's going to be another trend. Obviously, smaller guns with more capacity is not going to stop anytime soon.
We're kind of to that point where we're very quickly. I mean, it's only a couple of years since the P365 came out and changed the expectation, but we're very quickly getting to where I mean, it's very small and it holds 10 or 11 or 12 or whatever. I think all of the big gun makers are checking those boxes.
Yes. It's now a new set of standards. You've got to have a gun that's 1 inch thick and holds at least 10 rounds.
Yeah.
And 9mm. And then Ruger really upped their game with the LCP Max, going with a gun that honestly is no bigger really than the LCP2, but a 10+1 380. That's a true pocket pistol. That gun has been a home run.
Yeah, that was very impressive. That's been very impressive for a lot of these. That's one, that Ruger LCP Max, because you're like you said, it's not bigger. I find that to be true with the Shield Plus, and there's a couple others that you go, it's kind of now it's the higher capacity version of an existing gun. And I said it in one of the videos, it's like, I don't really understand how they're doing this. I'm not an engineer, but how did they not change the size and shape of the gun? Or it did a slightly, but it's almost.
It's really, and honestly, where it does change, it makes it better, because some of that small dimension of width difference, it makes the gun more shootable. Yeah. In my opinion, it spreads the recoil on your hand a little bit better. If anything, some of those super, super thin guns were a little tough to shoot. I find that the higher capacity version of that same gun is much easier to shoot. So it's a win every way around. Yeah,
it is funny that the expectations change. A single stack 6, 7, or 8 round, people will probably go, well, that's not very many rounds.
Yeah, it sounds so inadequate now. Whereas 3 years ago, that was like the uber cool.
And several years ago, I mean, which I guess it's still popular, right? Is a J-frame type.
Oh yeah,
a small revolver that holds 5.
Right, much harder to shoot. It's funny. The expectations do change as the platforms evolve. So
even though, the likelihood that you're going to need 10 or 11 rounds is fairly low statistically. I'll also step onto the other side and say, but I'll take as much ammo as I can get in the gun.
Well, especially when there's not a size or weight penalty, really. It's honestly, it's probably the one time in the gun world where you kind of get a free lunch,
right?
And that doesn't happen very often. But I will say with the newer 365 type guns, you kind of get that. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, go for it. Take it.
Those cool guys that were always carrying Glock 17s or Glock 19s. Now it's like, well, guess what? I'm carrying almost the same amount
Yeah.
in a smaller package.
Right. Well, yeah, most of those guys probably have got a 365 sitting somewhere
Right.
that they carry probably too. So.
Yeah. Jason, let me thank a couple of our sponsors real quick.
Yep.
ATN is the future of optics. ATN's new upgrade program offers current X-Sight optics owners the opportunity to upgrade to the latest X-Sight models. Their full warranty is included, you get free shipping, and the upgrade process is fast and easy. Visit atncorp.com/upgrade program for all the details, and visit ATN at their new storefront in Grapevine Mills in Texas. The newest addition to Springfield Armory's 1911 family is the Emissary. It's a pistol designed for defense with custom-grade features, offering up a two-tone finish, blued carbon steel slide, stainless steel frame, and a squared trigger guard. The grips are fully wrapped with a grenade pattern texture for firm engagement in adverse conditions. Find out more at springfield-armory.com. Joining the Arms Corps Rock Island Armory lineup this year is the STK 100 striker-fired pistol. I've shot this gun. It's pretty dang impressive. The STK 100 is a 9mm, has a 17-round capacity. It's a solid aluminum frame, which has a different feel to it than a polymer gun. Very solid, very kind of quick to get back on target. It gives you the advantages of a metal pistol for the price of a polymer. The STK 100 features an optics-ready slide and an extended beaver tail. Find out more at armscorps.com. Also, the new Smith Wesson Mp 15 T2 rifle. It's optimized with a slew of upgrades and customizations, an MP pistol grip, interchangeable back straps. That's kind of cool on an AR-15. Ambi controls, including an ambi charging handle, flat face trigger, and the M4E flash suppressor. Find out more about this newest MP15 rifle at smith-wesson.com. So let's talk about our new gun that we worked with you guys on, the GT25. This is a project that we're super excited about. And honestly, I think you and I were excited about it. And now that we have the gun, we've shot the gun, we're even more excited about it.
Absolutely. Yeah. The concept on paper was really good.
Mm-hmm.
And it really got me excited. But once I shot that first magazine through the gun, it really exceeded every expectation I had of what the capabilities of that platform could be. Because it seems like when you're trying to make a gun a slightly smaller, especially in a 10mm, you think, okay, there's going to be a penalty on maybe controllability. It might be a little rougher to shoot.
That's the assumption.
And that's a natural assumption.
I wouldn't have even been mad about it.
You would totally expect it.
It's smaller. So I'm kind of glossing over the broad details. I mean, if you haven't heard about it, we do a special makeup gun every so often. This is the third one we've done. They so happen to have all been pistols and all been in 10mm. We did the first one with Kimber several years back. We did one with Sig Sauer. And this one is from the Ruger Custom Shop. Mm-hmm. And I think that's an important factor here. And the Ruger Custom Shop, I'll say it since Ruger's not here and we talk about all different types of platforms and guns here. The Ruger Custom Shop is pretty awesome. And to me, it's kind of what Smith did with their Performance Center.
Yeah, very similar.
You know, it's kind of like, okay, we have good guns, but we're going to have this special little corner of the building where we have some really good gunsmiths making higher end stuff.
Right.
And that seems to be kind of, to me, what they're doing.
That's kind of the formula. And they're not constrained by necessarily Ruger OEM parts either. They can go out and, you know, if you have a project like this project where we wanted to have, forged internals and stuff like that, tool steel, hammers and triggers. So we went and got cylinder and slide parts. Yeah. So that's something that would not normally be in the normal mass production.
True, right. They're going to use their own.
Correct. So, Tom parts. Chose the front sight he wanted and then a rear sight he wanted, not necessarily a set. So that's the kind of stuff that the custom shop provides you. Now, you're going to pay a little bit more and it's going to be less production, but at the end of the day, you're going to get a really high quality product for a really affordable price, in my opinion.
So it's a 1911, and we keep saying it's commander size, and I've heard this several times on places we're talking about it. I don't want to gloss over the fact of some people may not be super familiar with 1911s and commander size, officer size, all that. Maybe you kind of walk them through that. What does that mean?
Well, the original 1911 was built on a 5-inch barrel gun. It's the government model. And then I want to say in the late 1940s, they came out with a commander version, and it was they shortened the barrel to 4 1/4 inches. So it's a 3/4 inch difference in barrel length. They've been making that gun pretty much ever since then. They've done all steel versions and lightweight versions. And then later, I don't remember exactly when they came out with the officer's model, but it was a 3 1/2 inch barrel gun.
Right.
And then, well, on that gun, they chopped the grip as well. So instead of being a 7 or 8+1, it's a 6+1. But the Commander had a full-size grip and a slightly shorter barrel, which is like a Glock 19X.
I was just about to say, we're bringing out new guns that are basically copying that idea of like, hey, I want a full-size grip, but a little bit shorter. Saves a little weight, easier to carry, and it's in 10 millimeter, this GT25. And so you would say, okay, it's in 10 millimeter, which is a little bit more power. Well, some might say a lot more power, but it's a smaller package, easier to carry. And that's what we were saying is like, I was fully expecting like, boy, this is going to be snappy, but I'm okay with that. It'll be more power. It'll be more stopping power for bad guys. It'll be more stopping power if you want it to be a woods gun or something like that. It's not more snappy.
No.
I don't know how to explain it, but there are things with this gun that the custom shop did to make it super shootable.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And a big part of a 1911 in general is that it does sit really low in your hand. So you don't have that high bore axis that's sitting up there and causing a lot of muzzle flip. So what Ruger also did was they undercut the trigger guard and they put a beaver tail on it. So your hand gets really high on that gun. And then they did the 25 lines per inch checkering on the front strap and the mainspring housing. So it's got an aggressive checkering, but not so aggressive that it really tears your hand up.
Right.
But it gives you, it locks in. And then,
I also like the way that looks too.
Oh, it's just, it gives it that level of finish that really sets it apart. And then they put the checkered G10s on there on the grip panels, which again are not over aggressive, but have enough texture to them to where the gun really locks in your hand.
Yeah.
And then I think a lot of it has to do too, when you shorten the barrel and the slide on a semi-auto pistol, you have to use a heavier recoil spring.
Right.
So I think that might have a little bit to do with the fact that it doesn't seem to recoil as briskly as maybe a 5-inch 1911 does. But I've shot mine. I've got about 250 rounds through mine, and I was surprised of how flat it shot when you were making transitions from target to target. And it's really comfortable. I would say it's similar to maybe like a lightweight Commander in a 45,
right?
As far as recoil, which has never been considered over abusive to a shooter.
No, and it's it comes with a nice Ruger custom shop case. I know regular Ruger guns come in kind of a white cardboard box. This comes in a hard plastic lockable red case.
It's waterproof too.
Waterproof. Comes with 3 magazines that are 8-round magazines on a 10. So, I mean, you've got 9 rounds of 10 in the gun. We were just kind of giving ourselves a hard time about single stack guns, but you got 9 rounds of 10 millimeter in the gun. And then also, I will admit to this, I'm a guy who stuffs my spare mag in a pocket. I don't have like a mag holster typically. And so flat mags are easy to stick in a pocket. 1911 mags, easy to stick in a pocket.
Yeah.
They're still low profile.
They're very low profile. And that's a great thing about a 1911 is that people will think, well, 1911 is a big gun. And it is compared to a SIG 365 or a Shield or something like that. However, a 1911 is probably one of the easiest guns to carry because it's thin. And it's the way those guns carry, you can pretty much conceal it, even though it's a fairly full-size gun, pretty easily. Yeah. And you think about it, from the 1940s really up until the 1990s, the Colt Light Commander was the ultimate, that was the carry gun. That was the Glock 19 of today.
Every single instructor at gun sight has one of those on their hip typically.
Yeah.
Until maybe recently.
Yeah. And that was the gun that you carried and concealed or whatever. So it's not hard to carry those guns comfortably. And the fact that you've got 10 millimeter power on tap to me makes the gun even that much more versatile, because now you got a gun that you can take in the woods that can serve dual purpose. You could hunt with it. You could use it for bear protection, and people always think, when they think bears, they're always thinking, big coastal grizzlies and stuff like that. But it could be black bears, it could be cougars,
absolutely,
wild pigs, meth heads in the woods. I mean, let's face it. It's
that's the question. So we always say animals are really tough. They you shoot them and they run far. And now who's tougher, a meth head in the woods or an angry mama black bear? Which one is going to take more? 10 rounds of 10 millimeter to stop.
Yeah.
That's probably a horrible thing to say, but I think it's kind of funny. This is what we talk about on podcasts because we can't be censored.
That's right.
The 10 millimeter is just a craze, and it doesn't seem to be waning. No,
it's actually getting more. And the way you can always tell, and that's what I tell people all the time, if you want to know if a caliber is trending up, look at when ammo makers come out with their new loads for the year. And the last several years, Federal and CCI and Winchester and all these guys have been offering more and more 10 millimeter options.
Right.
And so they're not doing that because people are buying less of them.
Right.
And it's starting to take off, I think, and it's going to be pretty mainstream. And I think a lot of that has to do with, you have a whole generation of shooters that really have no experience with revolvers.
Right.
And they're comfortable with semi-automatics. They are now going, they're backpacking. There's a big trend to backcountry hunting, doing, from field to table. That's just a big thing right now. Yeah. And people want a handgun that they can carry, that they could be just as comfortable carrying in the woods or in town, and something and they can shoot well. And a 10 millimeter fits that bill quite nicely. And so I think you're seeing a lot of people go to that route. And, 10 millimeters are cool around because you think about it, it's the only semi-automatic cartridge that you can have kind of like a special or a Magnum level load.
True.
Because you've got a lot of the FBI style loads that are 180 grains at 950, which is basically a 40 Smith Wesson. Or you got a 180 grain bullet going 1,300 feet per second. Yeah. And they all work in the gun. There's no other semi-automatic pistol out there that has that versatility.
Wide range of loads.
Yeah, you got almost, you got 350 feet per second velocity difference with the same bullet weight.
Yeah.
And so you can really tailor the gun to what you want to do with it.
And also because you have those wide range of loads, you have a lot of different bullets available too, because you've got the defensive stuff. Mm-hmm. Try to find, it exists, but trying to find more hunting style or hard cast style in other calibers, you may have a hard time. But 10, they've been doing that for a long time because of the capability of that.
And the 10 was based around a heavy bullet weight to begin with. Mm-hmm. It started out as a 200 grain style bullet. So you're not trying to take a 9 millimeter, for instance, that was founded on 115s and try to load bullets that really weren't
160s.
That really weren't designed for it. And the good thing about the 10 millimeter too is that it was designed around flat point truncated cone bullets to begin with. So those just penetrate better than a round nose bullet. They don't glance off of skulls and stuff like that.
Straight line.
Right. And you've got that velocity to make that penetration. So a lot of people go, well, I'll just carry a 45. And a 45 can be a great field gun too. But when it comes to that straight line penetration, a 10 millimeter is going to give you a lot more.
We have a few more sponsors to thank for this show. Safariland's 575 Iwb holster is designed to fit multiple firearms in one holster. It's now available in slim fits for Glocks, Springfields, SIGs, MMPs, and more. The 575 is optics capable, offers a fully adjustable cant, and a unique grip lock system for security. To see the 575 Iwb holster or any of Safariland's gear, apparel, hearing protection, armor, visit Safariland.com and use code GUNTALK20Q3 for 20% off. Since 1947, a passion for shooting and hunting has driven product innovation at Hodgdon Powder. Innovations like black powder substitutes, anti-copper fouling agents in smokeless powder. Hodgdon Powder Company is the largest U.S. supplier of smokeless, black powder, and black powder substitute propellants. And the Hodgdon Reloading Data Center, this is the secret sauce, is the leader in reloading information. Find out more at hodgdonreloading.com. Lockdown has gone more high-tech than ever with their Logic line of Wi-Fi-enabled security products. The Puck Gen 2, the Logic Smart Plug, the Logic Secure Camera, and the Logic Vault Door. Secure everything from your gun safe, toolbox, and even your home with Lockdown's Logic line. Visit lockdown.com and use the code GUNTALK10 for 10% off site-wide. Timney Triggers is celebrating their 75th anniversary this year with the introduction of the Alpha Competition Series handgun trigger. They've never done a handgun trigger. It's the first. Designed for Glock Gen 3, 4, and 5 models, the Alpha Competition Series trigger is easy to install. I've seen it. Even KJ can do it. Features a crisp trigger break designed to keep you on target. Find your new trigger at timneytriggers.com. So, Jason, in this past weird year and a half that we've been living, gun sales have been brisk, and we know there's a bunch of new gun owners. A lot of the companies have been just making their bread and butter stuff. Mm-hmm. That doesn't mean they didn't have new things in the pipeline, but maybe they just didn't have time to devote the R&D or the machines or whatever. But man, we're seeing a lot of new guns lately.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, you think about it, there's been about 18 months of pent up, let's don't release anything new. And generally kind of the rule of thumb for most of the industry, it's about a 3-year process from conception to hitting the market.
Okay.
So you got a lot of stuff that's been in the works for maybe the last 3 years that has been just kind of sitting on the sidelines.
Yeah.
For those guys. But yeah, I mean, look at Smith Wesson with the Mp 12. That came out of left field. Nobody was expecting a bullpup pump shotgun from Smith Wesson, but that really shocked the market, and it's made an impact.
And you talk about the timeline for something like that. I mean, it's not like, well, we're bringing out an M&P pistol in a new caliber. I mean, they don't make anything
shotguns
like that.
Yeah.
It's not like, well, we took this pistol or we took this AR and we did these new things.
Yeah.
Like, no, I mean, this is
total new platform.
Brand new.
Yeah.
I also, on that gun, I like what they've done with the M&P stylings. They have the foregrip that is an M&P grip.
Right.
That you can swap out the back straps and all this stuff.
Smith Wesson does a good job of keeping a certain feel and ergonomic across their whole line of guns. So
that gun is funny to me because we put out a video about it. It really has gotten a lot of views, a lot of traction, a lot of comments. And people are funny. They want to go, well, that's just like this other gun. I mean, it's not a new invention, a bullpup shotgun. Right. But I think they had the benefit of seeing what else is out there and kind of what is good about other products, maybe what was lacking in other products. Sure. Being able to switch the mag tube super easily, that was kind of one thing that it was like, that's nice.
Well, let's face it. If we were going to strictly use a strict rule of we can't improve or copy something that's already been done, we would have a lot of the guns that we all love today.
Right.
Because a lot of those guns are tweaks on we'd always still be using M16A1s style guns with triangle fore ends and fixed carry handles.
Right.
But other companies decided, hey, we can do other stuff with this. And so I love the progression. I love it when industry says, here's a cool idea, but we can maybe execute it a little bit better because it makes everybody up their game. Yeah. It makes people think, okay, when we come out with a new gun, we don't want to leave the door open for somebody else to come in and make it better. So let's make it the best it can be from the beginning. So when people complain about that stuff, I think that's not a good way to look at the business in the whole.
Well, I'm not sure what that is. And sometimes it's about a price thing, or the comments on social media and YouTube are interesting. And along those lines, one of the funny things to me is companies teasing product launches. And I always love to watch the teases because then you see what people are commenting and they're hoping it's going to be this. Yeah. They're guessing
it's great market research.
Oh, it's awesome. Yeah. For that. I mean, there were so many ones recently in the last few months where people said, I hope it's a 10 millimeter this. And I was going, man, that 10 millimeter.
I saw that too.
It just won't go away.
Yeah, everybody wanted M&P 10 millimeter.
Yeah.
Well, it's just like, Glock, every time Glock teases something, it's a carbine.
Right.
I've been hearing that for 20 years now. But
I had a conversation with Glock about doing an April Fool's joke about.
Please don't.
See, I was like, let's do an April Fool's joke, and we'll do like a carbine case, a rifle case, and we'll just tease that this is coming. We'll have a Glock, on the box and all this. And I thought it would be hilarious, and everyone would really get jacked about it. And they were like, "No, you don't understand. Like, people are just hammering us all the time about this.
Yeah, please don't.
We can't tease this idea." It's kind of like my buddy who did a practical joke convincing his wife that they won the lottery.
Gosh.
I'll tell you this, and then I'm going to tell you, you probably shouldn't do this.
Don't do it.
He went and bought a lottery ticket with last week's lottery numbers. And then he left the lottery ticket next to the newspaper with the lotto numbers just on the kitchen table. And she let her find it, and it worked too perfectly. And she thought they won the Powerball, and then realized she hadn't. And that's kind of what this would be for people with the Glock thing.
Right. Well, I remember I still get people, I guess, who just now found the internet that send me will send us like, "Hey, when's Glock coming out, that 1911?" Because they did it. Remember, there was an April Fool's joke 10 years ago with like somebody photoshopped a 1911 with Glock stuff on it. I'm like, no, dude.
No,
it's not happening.
That's not
happening.
I will say those April Fool's jokes some of them are pretty elaborate. Where
Hornady's the best.
Yeah, yes.
When they did the one with the camera and the bullet that time.
Yeah, the camera and the
bullet.
They
had a lot. I tell you what, and we don't even carry ammo. And people were like, "Hey, man, I heard about this new load." I'm like, oh, man.
I know. Oh. I mean, when you forget what day it is, and you're watching this, and it's so well done, you go, "What?"
Right.
That's what?
Well, with social media, people share that stuff around for months. And so it's not even...
It doesn't go away.
Yeah, it's not like April. You can see that thing in June still, and people are getting it. So, it causes a lot of grief for our sales reps, I can tell you.
just telling people, no, we're not doing that.
Well, but I saw it.
Now, you guys are doing optics as well, right?
Yeah.
So, the optics world has had a lot of changes.
Oh, yeah. Big time.
We were talking about red dots, and I think part of the reason that we're liking red dots on pistols, beyond the fact that it's really helpful for shooting, is the red dots themselves have gotten that much better.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. They're more rugged now. Like I said, the battery life's gotten much better. And again, it's that competition that's causing people are saying, "Oh, well, the Trichicon came out with the RMR, nobody should copy that." Well, there's a lot of companies out there that are coming up with things saying, "Hey, we can do this a little better," or, this battery life, or maybe use a different battery. And it's causing everybody to do things better. As far as magnified optics go, obviously the trend is towards more turrets and more magnification. And, I don't know how long that will go before people start realizing, oh gosh, I don't need a 3-pound scope with 30 power magnification to hunt deer in the whitetail woods.
Right. Yeah.
And so you're kind of seeing some of the traditional scopes being kind of neglected. But I think obviously most of these guys see the trend of long range hunting and PRS as an opportunity to get more market share. So you're seeing a lot of trends that way.
Yeah. The one, it used to be 1 to 4, and I loved that. And then it was like 1 to 6. And then Loophole came out with a 1 to 8, which was mind blowing.
Yeah.
And then there's a 1 to 10.
There's a 1 to 10, yeah.
And you go, well, I mean, how do you do this? I mean,
it's kind of like the capacity thing.
It's like the capacity thing.
Yeah.
You're like, how? How do you? I mean,
which 1 to 4 was very adequate for 30 years, and now it seems so inadequate.
Well, we had like the fixed 4 power or 3 power, a Redfield that your granddaddy used.
And absolutely. And look, it's still very usable. You don't need a 4 to 24 to hunt deer. But it is nice though that the optics have gotten to the point now to where you can get an affordable scope that you can go out to 1,000 yards with pretty easily. Yeah. I'm not a big long range hunting guy, but as far as shooting steel or whatever else, man, it's the equipment out there for under $1,000, rifle and scope, you can go out there and ding steel at 1,000 yards pretty quick.
Yeah. The gear, we are spoiled with the gear that exists.
It's a golden era of it for sure. Absolutely. You can be set up for real. And I think that's the reason why we're seeing such a uptick in interest in that kind of and bolt guns and everything else, because the price to get in is not so high that people are scared off.
Well, think about this. like this GT25 gun that we were talking about, this is a Ruger custom shop gun. This is a custom shop. And you used to, in the 1980s, if you wanted a gun like this, you would have to send it to a gunsmith and spend $1,000 in the 1980s.
Oh, yeah.
To get all this stuff done to it.
Absolutely.
And now you can get this gun. I mean, it's not an inexpensive gun, but it's $1,700. I'll tell you, that's the price of it. And if you were going to go buy, I mean, try to put that together, I mean, it's just an incredible value.
Well, not only that, people forget too, if you're going to send your gun off to one of the good smiths to get stuff done, it's going to cost you a couple $100 just in shipping.
That's true. Yeah.
Because you have to overnight that stuff and insure it and everything else. So when you
and you don't have the gun,
and you don't have the gun,
guys are way back.
Right. And the great thing about this is it's factory warranted.
Yeah.
So you got all this custom work done. You're not paying for stuff that you don't even get value for, with like shipping and all that kind of stuff. And if something does go wrong or whatever with it, you send it back to Ruger, they're going to fix it.
Yeah.
And on their dime.
Right.
And so there's a lot to be said about that. The second you send off another stock gun to somebody, that factory is done with it as far as warranting it.
Yeah.
So
that's a good point.
So to me, it's really a safe way to get into a custom pistol that has a lot going for it. And the things that maybe you like a different sight, or maybe you don't like the blue grips. Those are things that are easy to change.
Right.
And so that's why when Tom and I were talking about it, we kind of talked about the grips. I said, Tom, the good thing is if somebody can work a screwdriver, they can change the grips.
Yeah.
And there's literally a million options for grips. The sights use a standard Novak cut. There's literally a million different variations of sights that use Novak cuts. So those are kind of things that you can do without having to ship guns off and all that kind of stuff. It really, I think, when they really want to do the dollars and cents on it, it's a bargain for what you're getting.
Yeah. You mentioned Novak. I love that it has Novak sights, low snag, kind of fighting sights, but also adjustable. Yeah. Adjustable Novak, and also no dots on the back.
Correct.
And the reason for that, is we're supposed to focus on the front sight. And so we've got a front sight out there that really pops so you can see it well. And a lot of people will find after shooting guns a long time, I don't want the dots in the back because I could get messed up, confused on which dot am I looking at right now.
Yeah. Well, and one phenomenon too is when you're starting to shoot a lot, you get a lot of carbon fouling and stuff on the end of your barrel, and that front sight will get dingy. It just happens. I don't care what you do. And so the last thing you want, and when your eyes are going to focus on what's bright and shiny and in your face, is these two big bright white dots in the rear and a dim front sight. Yeah, it's just your eyes not being drawn to that front sight.
Yeah, you're kind of having to fight.
You're fighting it, right? And so I don't have any of my guns with dots in the rear anymore. If they came with that way, either change it or I dot them, take a Sharpie and mark them out. But I shoot much better that way. Now, there's some people that might say, you want for night sights, you want to have a reference point in the rear, and that's legit. But again, you would have to be in the pitch black,
right?
And you were really shooting at something in the pitch black.
Yeah, we start getting into an argument of like, wait a minute, what are you aiming at if you can't even see the gun?
Exactly.
I mean, I could come up with a scenario, but I mean, yeah, for most times. And we're really talking about defensive use. If you're talking about target shooting, well, maybe you do want the two dots in the back. It's a preference thing.
Yeah, and it's the thing about dots is you don't know if generally you use the tops of your sights. So you line everything up and it's a nice square edge, and that's easy to replicate. When you're using round dots, a lot of times you don't necessarily get the exact same hold as you did as the first time. And that's time I get a vertical stringing a lot of times. Yeah. Because you don't have that exact crisp aiming point. But those sights that are on this gun are perfect. And that tritium front has a slight little ring, green ring around it too. So it actually pops. Because a lot of times just pure tritium fronts are pretty dim in the daylight.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's just basically a black
night
sight.
Sights, you're going, man, I don't know.
Right, but this has a green ring around the tritium, so that sight pops in day or night. Yeah, it's a great design.
That's another trend that I've noticed over the years of kind of the combo sights that are day and night. Man, what else? What other guns have you been shooting lately that have been kind of fun to you? I mean, you see everything, you get everything in.
Yeah. Well, I've been shooting a lot of the big bore stuff.
Oh
lately.
yeah.
Just trying to get ready for hunting season. We do a lot of the exclusive stuff in 454s and 480s. So I've got a couple of 480s.
Wow.
I've been shooting those quite a bit. I'm dying to kill a deer for one this year. So
Yeah.
I'm going to make myself do it. Yeah.
Good.
Usually I got to make myself leave the rifle at home.
That's the one with the Bisley grips?
Yeah.
Okay.
I've got the little short barrel one, and I've been working with that gun all summer. So
Well, you got to work on that because we'll talk about handgun hunting and we go, okay, and we'll talk about the caliber and is it appropriate for hunting deer?
mm-hmm.
And the caliber, the cartridge will do it.
Absolutely.
But when you start actually trying to hit consistently at an 8-inch circle at 50 yards, it is a challenge.
It's a challenge. It's with handguns, especially the big ones, you have to do everything the same perfectly.
Mhm.
You can't cheat the trigger. You can't cheat the sights. You have to execute that shot precisely, especially when you're shooting a game. You're shooting at a steel target or you're shooting at a rock or something. Right. Okay, you miss one, it's no big deal. But when you owe it to the game to be at your best. And so when you are practicing, you have to practice like you're going to be hunting.
Right.
And so that's really the key. You got to get in those field positions. You got to get in this. I get in a chair. I have kind of a little chair set up. I have a blind that we hunt in. So I get in that same setup and I try to shoot at the actually. And when the time's right and it's not too hot out in the woods, I actually have to go put my steel plate out in the woods from the stand I hunt. So that I kind of in that environment. And
that's a good point of actually having that depth perception and that what is it going to look like in the woods?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So those are the kind of things you got to work out. And then shooting that gun right at dark, because you can go out at the middle of the day and it's easy. You can see your sights good, everything else. But you go shoot it 30 minutes before sunset or after sunset
in the
woods, all of a sudden, oh, wait a minute, that front black sight, I can't even see it anymore. Yep. And that's when the game are really starting to move. So that's when you make a change. Okay, I go put a gold bead front sight on that gun. And so those are things you got to work out in the off season.
That's a great point, whether it's hunting or defensive stuff, is trying out your setup in those environments. Because iron sights, way different deal in that low light. And we're talking about low light like the sun's going down in the woods, low light, not nighttime.
Right.
Because scopes will really help gather that light and extend your shooting ability as far as darkness.
Yeah. And
the same thing goes for defensive stuff. I remember setting up, I had a Trigicon. This is an old school. I was like RX30, I think. Basically a red dot, but like a big red dot sight. It wasn't an RMR Trigicon that had the fiber optic.
Oh yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Sunlight or whatever. So the dot would get brighter in the sun and dimmer in the dark. And you can argue that's really that actually works well. I don't need it to be too bright indoors. So then on my AR, I put this big monster flashlight on it, which probably would be great for lighting up targets 150 yards.
Right.
And then one day I was in my house by myself and I said, let me walk around. And it was, as I recall, it was actually daytime, but it was a dark day. It was like rainy or something. No lights on the house. And I walked down the hall and I hit that light on. And as soon as I hit the light, it made everything out there bright. And it's still dim where I am. And the dot, I could not see the dot. Yeah. And you're going, oh, I haven't actually tried this. At the range, everything's cool. It all works
great. Square range is not a good testing ground. Yeah. It really is not.
And I didn't have to shoot the gun or anything, obviously. And just, you're walking around, just let me see what this looks like. Same thing would go with your handguns, whether it's a red dot on your handgun or iron sights. Am I going to be able to use this? And then you go, I'm going to put the light on. Or is it going to work with the light? Is it going to conflict with what I'm doing?
Exactly.
Here?
Well, we were talking about night sights. Majority of people who buy defensive handguns either buy them with night sights or put them on there. Mm-hmm. How many of those people actually go shoot at night with them?
Right.
Honestly, a lot of people don't.
And because night sights aren't flashlights.
No.
Like they're not bright. Mm-mm. If you woke up in the middle of the night and your eyes were super adjusted to the dark, they would look pretty bright. But besides that, I don't, you know, you got to test it.
You got to test it.
Work
You got to test it. You know, you got to hold. What's your light setup? I took a Ken Hackathorn class years ago, and we did a night shoot. And I tell you, everything that I went into that shoot thinking for my nighttime setup, I totally changed it when I got done because it didn't work.
Yeah,
it sounded great on paper, but it just didn't work in an actual using situation like that.
I think also a lot of times when we think about flat lights and low light, everybody wants more light, lots more light.
Yeah.
And then you kind of realize like, I could get away with a lot less light.
Yeah, you can actually blind yourself.
Yeah.
If everybody's just got white walls now and real light colored house. I mean, you shine 1,000 lumen light at 5 yards on a bright wall. It's blinding.
I'm going to blind the bad guy and maybe yourself.
Yeah, right, yeah. Exactly. So yeah, but it's using this stuff. It's testing it out. You can read all the magazine articles you want and watch all the YouTube videos you want. But at the end of the day, until you go out and actually use it and try it yourself, you're really not going to have a good appreciation of what works and what doesn't.
Yeah. Yeah. I like that. The YouTube experts, I always kind of want to respond with, but have you tried it?
Yeah.
You know, whether it's I like or hate this gun or I like or hate this tip or whatever, it's like, but have you tried this? Have you even shot it or done this exercise?
Oh yeah. Yeah. It's, you know, everybody is trying to figure out a way to get noticed on that deal. So you see some crazy theories on what should be cool and whatever else because it looks cool.
Right.
But I kind of tend to go to those guys who've been doing it for 20, 30, 40 years and they're still alive. So it must be okay.
Yeah,
they didn't get killed in the streets. So
Jason, thanks for being on with us, man.
That's good to have. I really appreciate you having me come on. I'm telling you, I'm so excited about this 10mm pistol. For you guys out there that are on the fence about getting one, get off of it and get one. There's only 500 going to be made. It's a fantastic value. And I tell you, there's not a better gun. We were kind of talking earlier. We call it our national parks gun.
Yes,
it's totally a gun that you can carry concealed. You can shoot well, carry it in all kind of conditions, whether it's, you know, wild game, whether it's predators, whether it's, you know, a human element. There's so many things this gun does well. It really, and I told Tom this, I said, it's right there at the top of my list of the one pistol to do everything.
Yeah.
And that's a hard list to get on.
And you've seen a lot of guns.
I've got a lot of trust me, I've tried them all.
Yeah.
And this gun really might take that title. Yeah.
So if you want to find out more about the GT25, you can go to guntalk.com/GT25. Also DurysGuns.com, DURYS, DurysGuns.com. They're the dealer that you can buy this through, and then actually it takes you to Gun Broker. And also, we actually worked out a deal with Black Hills Ammo. You can buy ammo for this.
Yeah.
Which is cool.
Yeah. When Tom told me that, I was like, oh man, this has gotten better.
Yeah.
And Black Hills hasn't made a 10mm load in like 20 years.
Yeah.
And this one's a good load. It's 180
really
grain XTP at 1,290 feet per second.
Yeah.
So a full power load that's with a great bullet it's Black Hills, you know it's going to shoot good.
Yeah, absolutely. So go check that out. And if you want to get one of these Biden tactical t-shirts, go to guntalk.com/shop and you can be sporting this cool double barrel, just shoot 2 shots out into the backyard. Don't really do that. All right, we'll see you next time on Gun Talk Nation.